Ciao! Come va amico mio? Il mio nome è Tim Jones e viene a questione edizione de View from the Bleachers. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I was speaking in Italian, my bad. That's because not long ago I returned from a 2-week vacation to Italy. It might look like I'm in Italy right now, but that's just a green screen of the city of Siena. Thank God I'm back home now. I have to tell you, spending 2 weeks in Italy, it was a nightmare. The first thing that I did when our plane touched down in Seattle was to kiss the tarmac. The second thing I did was to find a restroom to wash my mouth because that tarmac was disgusting. More about my harrowing Italian adventure on the other side. A few months ago, I made a terrible mistake. I listened to my wife. She convinced me to go on a European vacation, so we took a 2-week guided tour of Italy. You know, the brochures made it look charming and relaxing. Rome for 3 nights, followed by visits to quaint mountainside villages along Italy's rugged coast. Even a boat ride to the fabled Isle of Capri. But you know, the entire experience was anything but tranquil. For God's sakes, learn from my reckless mistake and avoid that country like the plague, which, by the way, hit Italy really badly in 1347. We went on an organized tour with 15 other very nice people who were fairly willing to make limited eye contact with me once they discovered I was a humor writer. But the moment we arrived in Rome, I knew that I was in for a bumpy ride. It turns out the taxis in Rome have really bad suspensions, and the roads there are filled with potholes. Before the trip, I watched several films with notable actors of Italian heritage: Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, even Sylvester Stallone. But it was no use. I could still not understand a word of Italian. The only word I could pronounce was Yo Adrian, which to my deep disappointment, not a single Italian uttered the entire time we were there. So I knew I would have to improvise in Italy. Throughout our time there, I attempted to communicate with the locals by speaking English, but using my best Italiano accent, which unfortunately sounds eerily close to my best Norwegian accent. It was no use. None of them seemed to understand a word that I was saying. I quickly discovered that, Italians apparently have a different word from ours for just about everything, except for lasagna. The Italians have the exact same word for it as we do. Pretty cool, eh? I concluded that I would need to master some basic Italian expressions. For example, parle inglese? Do you speak English? Dove il bagno? Where's the bathroom? Volete giocare a bocce? Would you like to play a game of lawn bowling? Perché esce la tua pizza è inferiore alla pizza americana? Why is it that your pizza tastes worse than American pizza? I did the best I could, but it's hard to communicate with people in a country as backwards as Italy. I discovered that Italians, in addition to having highly overrated pizza, are horrible spellers. I had to constantly correct their misspellings of their own cities. They misspell Rome, R-O-M-A. They spell Naples as Napoli. Venice is misspelled Venezia. And they aren't even close on the correct spelling of Florence, which they mangle as Firenze. It was annoying to have to constantly keep correcting the locals. Trying to watch TV was all but intolerable. From what I could tell from my limited chance to catch television, Italians only have 3 options for television programming: regional soccer, national soccer, and European soccer, usually featuring a buxom blonde woman as a sideline reporter. Nothing else. I was told they have tons of football on TV, but they lied. I could never find a single NFL game on any channel, not even the Packers. Sadly, Italy is a very, very old country with scores of really old churches built over 500 years ago, all of which had horrible lighting and no carpeting. I was in one old church called St. Peter's Basilisk or something like that, I don't know. But anyways, it's huge, but it has no air conditioning and really, really uncomfortable seats. And there isn't even a place for an escalator to get to the balcony. Hello? I should have thought about that when you were designing the place, Michelangelis or whatever that guy's name was. From what I could tell, Italians do a terrible job at keeping their homes up to code. I hate to be critical of another country that likes pizza as much as I do, but one day we took a tour of this town called Pompeii. Ha! Man, what a dump! The entire place was in ruins. They totally let their community go. Check out this main street of the town. Those stone blocks in the middle of the road, well, they're just a flat tire waiting to happen. And I did not see a Starbucks anywhere. Not impressed. The places we stayed in were barely fit for habitation. Oh, sure. The hotels were typically charming, small 15-room inns, often directly overlooking the Mediterranean. This is one of the places that we stayed at. Sure, the view's not bad, but the hotel's Wi-Fi connection sucked. And I was almost never able to update my Facebook status. And no jacuzzi anywhere. And I'm pretty sure that jacuzzi is even an Italian word, right? And then there was this frightening catastrophe when the cruise ship ran aground and flipped on its side. It was horrible. I can barely talk about it. Thankfully, I wasn't actually on the Costa Concordia when it happened, but I could have been had we been in Italy only 6 years earlier and booked a cruise instead of the tour we were actually on. Another low point had to be our trip to St. Peter's for a rare open-air mass performed by Pope Francis himself. Oh, sure, I was stoked to snap this photo of the Grand Popemeister in his Popemobile from only 7 feet away. But, as he drove by and I yelled, "Papa Francesco," which is how the Italians mispronounce his name, he didn't so much as even give me an air fist bump, let alone invite me to a private sitting where he'd wash my feet. Very disappointing. The food was okay, but I have to tell you, everywhere I went, it was always the same thing. Italian food. Anybody in this country ever heard of a ribeye steak? And Naples, which claims to be where pizza was invented? Maybe so, but good luck finding a meat lover's cheese stuffed pizza anywhere in that town, let alone Buffalo Wild Wings. Please. But perhaps the worst part of my experience had nothing to do with Italians or their food or their shoddy Roman temples in dire need of repair. It was actually having to wait for my wife. That I mentioned, she's an artist. She wanted to take a few photos to paint from when we got home. And by a few photos, what she apparently meant was one photo for every man, woman, and child living in Italy. I would estimate that I spent about 28% of my vacation just waiting on my wife to take another photo of a Vespa parked next to an ancient Roman fountain. How lovely. I could be exaggerating, slightly, but I honestly believe that the Roman slaves who erected the Colosseum in 70 AD may have actually finished in less time than it took my wife to finish taking pictures of the very same building. My wife tells me that she had such a great time on our vacation that she's already planning our next one. Oh no, this time to a place even more backward and scary than Italy. France! I can already hear myself now. Oh yes, honey, that's an even better angle for a photo of the Eiffel Tower than the previous 164 photos you've already taken. Click. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. Perhaps I'm off base. I'm Tim Jones, and remember, if you like this video or are starting to feel concerned about me, just click here on the subscribe button below and share this video with your friends or anyone you'd like to annoy. For more of my humor, you can visit my humor blog website, viewfromthebleachers.net. That's it for now. Ciao.